Hey guys, recently I was at a class and something occurred that I think is really worth mentioning before I actually get into the meat of this video. We were working barriers. We were basically, dealing with from either side of the barrier. And the student had a malfunction with his weapon, so he puts it on safe and he begins to deal with it. And the instructor says, "Hang on, don't do anything." He says, "Don't move, don't do anything." The instructor walks over here, goes about 15 feet downrange, and the student's like, "What the heck is going on?" I already knew where he was going. And all of us are standing back here, and the instructor runs right up behind the student and goes like this with a finger gun to his head and shoots him. Why? Because the student was busy dealing with his firearm here, versus dealing with whatever the malfunction was from here, or even allowing it to hang and pulling out his sidearm and dealing with the problem that way. He was dealing with the fight. He was dealing with the malfunction totally head down right here. So guys, when you're working barrier, man, you got to be working the barrier from here. This feels all kinds of wonderful, but if you train yourself to work barriers this way, this is how you will end up working that barrier when it's a real fight. Okay, so the crux of today's video is this. When you're dealing with working around barriers, the reason that I like smooth front ends is because when you've got to get around a barrier, years ago I went and I was training with Frank Proctor, and he was demonstrating a great technique. I already knew about working from here. He says, but what if you're working in a really tight confine? And that's an extra layer to things. So what if you're forced to work this barrier from here, and all you've got is that. Well, what he teaches is, weapon comes up, and then compress it, move over, right? Every time that you go to move, you compress the weapon into your chest, bring it up, compress the weapon into your chest. That's why this right here is what you want to be able to do. Your forend should be slick enough that you should be able to slide that weapon in your grasp. If you'll notice, Frank Proctor runs the light out here, out front, and there's not a lot of anything down here. He might have panels on like these, but there's not a lot of anything here because he wants to have that forend sliding in his grip. So that's it, guys. Nothing really major. You'll notice that really the only exception that I make to that rule is when I'm dealing with a 7.5, and I put a really small Magpul hand stop on this because I really don't want my hand getting out in front. On a gun this short, you can potentially get out in front and lose part of your finger. So even if you're running it like this, where the hand stop is between middle finger and index finger, if you go forward, it's already hooking on the middle finger and reminding you to back up before you accidentally go all the way out in front. On a 10-3 like this one, it's a little bit harder to get your hand out in front, and which is the other reason that I like running the comp, because the comp from its heat, and it's pretty hot right now, the comp from its heat reminds you to back off when you come in contact with it and to go like this. Because remember guys, there are some techniques where you pass the gun over your shoulder to get inside of, like in vehicles and stuff. You pass the gun up and then out and then up and then, so anyways, but primarily in the world of moving with guns, you want slick front ends. Another thing that bears noting before I close, I'll give you this. When you're dealing with, let's say that you've been set up with two bad guys and you've got the first guy here, so you set up on your dropout. And remember guys, when you're on the gun, the term is, on target, on trigger. And so you can have your safety off, because remember, when your Glock is out, it has no safety. It's out. It's in your control. So if you're on the gun, whoop-de-doo, if you want to have your safety off, you go right ahead. Just make sure you've got trigger discipline. So you set up, come out, take your shot, So you've dropped number one. Remember, let's say that they've set you up with 2 targets. Well, what's to say that you can't address the next target that's a little bit further down by inching your way out and working it this way. I'm a lefty. I would rather not have to do one of these to get around the right side. I can do it, but I'm not as fast as I am from the left. So I'd rather pop this dude, work my angles, find my next guy, set up, pop, 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 and drop him all from this side. Remember guys, work the angles. Work the angles to your favor. Guys, remember, cover, if you can work cover from here and remain here, then keep working your cover. Don't give up your position to work this side when so far you've dropped this guy, and visually you lower your gun, and visually you can keep working until you see something else that needs to be addressed, and then you can deal with it. Work cover from here, from a position of advantage. Like Dave Spalding says, don't give up a known for an unknown. Work your cover properly. I know that it doesn't look as cool and as flashy as some of the stuff that's being presented here on social media, but guys, learn how to work your cover, learn how to work your angles. As always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out and practice. Have a good one.